Recently, at Life Insurance Strategies Group, we've been working with affluent Canadian tax residents who have U.S. estates because of real estate and business interest. In a couple of instances, we have encountered U.S. life insurance producers attempting to sell U.S. policies to these Canadian tax residents in a manner that will have horrific tax consequences for the Canadian insureds. Canadian tax residents are different from Canadian citizens. Citizens aren't subject to Canadian taxation and many of the rules around buying financial products. Tax residents, though, are expected to follow a lot of rules in order to fund a country that offers free healthcare and other benefits and touts a top income tax rate of 53.3% and a sales tax of 13%. Canadian tax residents must buy Canadian tax-compliant policies, or they'll be taxed each year on the policy's inside buildup. Some U.S. producers don't believe this is a problem, where a U.S. policy is going to be owned by an islet in the U.S. And this isn't true. Revenue Canada will ignore the trust and treat the policy as if it was owned by the Canadian tax resident grantor. Yes, the islet was appropriate for the U.S. side of an estate plan, but not for Canada. And buying a policy from a Canadian life insurance company certainly would be a solution, but U.S. producers cannot solicit Canadian tax residents for those products if they are not licensed to do so. Another solution, and what might be best for all parties, is that, unbeknownst to most U.S. producers, many U.S. life insurance policies do meet Canadian tax compliance. The trick is that an actuary must attest to compliance in a letter each year that the U.S. policy is compliant. Even if the U.S. policy is Canadian tax compliant, if there isn't a letter every year, the Canadian tax resident is likely in trouble. They could potentially owe back taxes and interest when Revenue Canada comes calling. If you're a non-U.S. person interested in how to structure your U.S. life insurance purchase, reach out to us today at lifeinsurancestrategiesgroup.com.